All right, sports fans. So, hey, we're doing the pizza competition, and let's just get started. So, I want to show you how I do it in JASP. I'm going to take that JASP into Excel, and then you'll see the final graphs in PowerPoint. So, with no further ado, let's do it. So, we're in common. We're going to go to descriptives. The first thing I want to do is we're going to go after the NPS scores. So, we're going to go grab all four right there, and you guys know that things instantly appear. But remember, for the NPS, we do not want the mean scores, right? So this is kind of the standard output, if you will. We don't want that. We don't use mean scores. We use mean scores with the attributes, not NPS. So when we're doing NPS, we come over here and we click on Display Frequency Tables. And now here's the data that we need for doing NPS. So let's see if, I'm not sure if I can grab this all at the same time. Let's see what happens when we do that. So here is my CX performance results. We're going to come over here. There it goes. I grabbed all of it. There, boom, that just happened. So you can see now we have NPS and the valid percents. Remember what we're looking for frequency for Domino's, Hungry Howie's, Little Caesars, and Papa John's. Now, okay, so now that I have the results of NPS, now what I've done, it just kind of magically appeared, is that I went through and from this data I pulled out promoters, passives, detractors, and NPS. And so this is for Domino's, right? So you can see what I did there. The formula is G20. So for me, I highlight the valid percents of the 9s and 10s, right? And then here, oops, shoot, I can't do that, right? And then here, I come in and highlight that. So now that's the passives are adding up the valid percents of the 7 and 8s. Right, and we go down to the detractors, and you can see that that adds up the valid percents of the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6s, right? And then the math is for the net promoter score is pretty easy, right? We just take the promoters, which in this situation for Domino's is 19.8, minus the detractors, 49.9%. And there you go. So our NPS score is a negative 30. And then we do the same thing. In fact, we do the same thing. I just copy and pasted all the formulas and came down here did that for Hungry Howie's, and their score is a negative 7.9. We did it for Little Caesars, negative 68.7, which is hilarious. I think that's the lowest net promoter score I think I've ever seen, and that just put a smile on my face because cardboard with cheese on it, is it really pizza? As I guess what I'm asking. So, although I got to say this, the deep dish that they do is pretty good. Not saying that I've ever gotten the $5 lunch special, but that's actually pretty good. It's the regular pizza, so 68.7. So, all right. We come down here for Papa John's, and we do the exact same thing, and their score is a negative 38 too. So now what we're going to do, the Net Promoter Score data is ready to be graphed. It's ready to put in tables. It's ready to do really whatever we want to do with it and start running. So, all right, my friends, now let's go get the attribute importance scores. So in order to do that, I'm going to put this away. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to come here to the same database, and for Domino's, we're going to go get D taste. All the D are the Domino's, right? So I'm going to go get that. That's total time, so I'm going to highlight that. And then there we go, right? And so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to take that into my database. Let's come to the attributes worksheet down here. Worksheets are good. And we're going to copy and paste in the Domino scores. And then from the Net Promoter Score, I determined that Hungry Howie's is the best other competitor. So we're going to grab Domino's. We're going to remove those from the analysis. I'm going to highlight those, switch them over. And now we're going to go to Hungry Howie's H taste. Okay, there we go. Boom, that just happened. Okay, copy that, come on over, put that in there, and now I'm going to kind of make that pretty, and we'll do some magic in Excel, really easy magic if you will, to kind of get this data ready to graph. Okay, so now what I've done is have you seen me before? I put the basic descriptive statistics, and we're interested, remember for the attributes, we're interested in the means. Now I anticipate 3 graphs, right? So this is kind of what I've done to get this ready. So the first thing I do is I rewrite the attributes, so taste and ingredients. I don't use the full label, I use a truncated, so value and courtesy and other food, location, and time, right? So we've shortened those. And then these are the original ones. This is the original for Domino's, and you can see that those are those original scores. And then I also picked out Hungry Howie's, and I've got all the originals. Now, what I've done, and I leave that original because in case I screw up, in case I need to go back to that original data to double check, it's always there. Now, the first graph that I'm going to get ready for is going to be just a bar graph of Domino's scores. And you can see what I've done is I've got all these attributes and I put them in rank or in order of descending order, right? And that's the way it's going to go. So that's ready to go into be graphed. And you can see too that there are 2 decimal places, and I think that's what we want to be using in this situation is 2 decimal places. Okay, that'll be the first graph. And then you can see also what I did is I got the same table again, and this time I did the performance ratios, right? And so these are in rank order or descending order of performance ratios. So you can see this is the data, it's other food, these are the individual scores, and then these are the performance ratios, right? So those calculations are in there, and right there you can see it's us divided by them. There's the formula, right? So that's working there. And then what I did too is I also anticipate a side-by-side graph. And so once I had it ranked order and from a ratio, I just copied that data over so that we can show the kind of the side-by-side bar graphs in Excel. So that's how I get the data ready to go. And you probably did the exact same thing. And now I'm going to show you what the final graphs will look like. Okay, so I'm going to show you the graphs to the presentation. I'm going to move kind of quickly. My graphs are not going to look very pretty. I'm going to talk about probably common mistakes, things like that, but give you just a feel for what the answers look like and how the data might look. So if we think about the net promoter scores, these were the net promoter scores, right? So they're very low. Quite interesting that they're so low. Hungry Howie's is the least low at -7.9, and Little Caesars is at a hilarious -68.7. So if I was going to make this graph look good, I think this is kind of nice to have. I like how the midpoint it shows the full range, right? It shows exactly how low those scores are. Like the descending order. I like the labels. If you wanted to round this up, I'd be fine with that. I struggle with that sometimes. Do I show 1 decimal place or 2? Or none? And that's a call. Definitely there's a better way to do it other than just the blue lines. I know someone's going to show me like Hungry Howie's and Little Caesars logos embedded in these. And if you can make that look nice, I think that always looks nice. These are all of them. Here's another way we can look at the net promoter scores, and this kind of shows us the percentage of promoters, passives, and detractors. And I showed this in my podcast before. Lots of times people want to know what percentage are promoters, and then how did we get to those scores, basically, right? You always got to know your audience, and if your audience wants this would be like another way that we could show that. Again, if we wanted to round this up to the whole number, I'd be fine with that. Okay. You want to do something about leading benchmarks with the net promoter scores, right? Where we talk about from different industries. If you can find pizza, great. I was able to find 1 pizza. Can you find fast food? Can you find restaurant? Can you find something to kind of give us a benchmark that's close to it, right? I think it's always good just to show all of them, like not all of them, but some of the best, right? So if you wanted to show Apple and Amazon and Google and Barnes and Noble, great. And then say, because those are the best ever or the best out there right now, and then try to get closer to the actual industry of pizza would be a very good thing. All right, so now we're going to go to the attributes, and this is a horrible graph with attributes, but I know I'm going to see this. What I hate the most? Well, one, it's all 18-point font, which is a default of Excel. There's no data labels on those, so if I want to know what ingredients are, I really got to work hard to show what that is. But the other one, the scale, runs from 6.6 to 8.6, and that is an Excel default. So the key thing here is let's take control of that. So now we got data labels. I think these are 24 font. The range of scales is 6 to 10. You could go 4 to 10. You could go 5 to 10. I think 6 to 10 works pretty good with this data. Here's the one thing, though, as we go to the next graph, well, you got consistent scales, right? So if we start using 6 to 10 on satisfaction for this, then we should do it for everything, okay? So I like that, and then you can circle things and kind of give me your what, so what, now what. Here's the other graph that I like. By the way, too, these are default colors. So, I mean, come on, I can do better than default colors. So if yours look like these colors, these are the defaults, and I know that. At least they're different, right? And so we're comparing ourselves to Hungry Howie's now, and I should have a legend saying the blue is Domino's and the red is Hungry Howie's. But this is in order of it doesn't look like a descending order or a ascending order, but it actually is. And what we have here is other food items is the largest gap. So we're doing really well at it, and Hungry Howie's isn't. And same, so Hungry Howie's, where do they have this big advantage? It's big advantages on crust, and that is where it is rocking and rolling on the crust. So anyhow, this is what the graph looks like, and you can see that we're winning on most of those attributes, even though overall we're losing. Kind of an interesting dilemma there, or crust has such an impact in swaying people. All right, here's performance ratios. I could have graphed it, but to be honest with you, I did a graph and it just didn't look good. So I know I've shown you graphs before with performance ratios, and that's completely acceptable. I also wanted to show you how I do it in tables. The key thing is that when we use tables, let's also use ascending and descending order. And you can see I've color coded the remarks there, so you can see the blue is where we have a significant advantage, and that's how we'd be talking with these numbers. Significant advantage, statistical ties, and crust, you can see that we're significantly disadvantaged there. So anyhow, these are some of the graphs that I wanted to show you, the possibilities, and you can look at your data and look at my data to make sure that you did it okay. Of course, your work's going to be 10 times more beautiful than mine, and care and put into things like that, but this just kind of gives you a baseline of what these things can look like. So I hope you're enjoying the hybrid version of this class. I hope that you're watching this so that you know that. So all right, my friends, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.